Hi there. This is Jolynn from WonHeart TV, and I'm here with a special guest this morning, Oddette Augustus, and we're going to be talking about some things that maybe you hopefully it's an insight or perspective that you've never thought of before. So welcome, Odette. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a good morning. It's a good morning to have an introspective of a perspective of from you. And well, let me see. Where shall I start? First, I'd like to share where I met you briefly, and then I want you to share about yourself. Odette and I met at a spiritual center, Awakening Ways in Atascadero,
Hmm.
many years ago. And come to find out, she's got this great killer restaurant that she's going to talk about, and we'll end with that. But
Not a restaurant.
oh, well, that's
I'm a
true.
caterer.
You
I'm a
don't want any
caterer.
you don't
I'm,
want anybody coming to a restaurant. That's true. That's true. Uh,
no, and people keep calling me wanting to know when I'm open. So so no, no,
okay,
not a
it's a
restaurant. Yeah.
catering
I
business.
am I'm a caterer, yes. I
Okay,
do
good.
pop-ups.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'll talk.
Okay.
I want to get back to that for sure. It's been kicking off
Okay.
pretty well. But as I was looking on Facebook, I got to know you a little more. It seems that we have a kindred spirit in the social
Hmm.
department. Can you tell
Yes.
me, can you tell the folks, I should say, a little bit more about yourself and what you've done throughout the years, if you don't mind?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so other than being born and raised in Stockton, California, mainly by my grandparents, but definitely by the village of the Smith clan that I originated from, um, I uh, I've traveled to Africa as a graduation present from high school from my mom,
Wow.
um, and I went to Grambling College for a very short time when I started my college career, but then I graduated from Sacramento State and had a whole lot of years in between before I went back and got a master's in counseling because I was working in California Youth Authority as a counselor. And I received an assignment to work with the psychologist with sex offenders. And in the process of sitting there thinking I'm being a counselor, I found out I didn't know anything. So I said, I need to go back to school if I'm going to be of any use to these kids. And so I did. And, um, and my career turned into one that focused on sex offenders. Well, then I retired and or before I retired, I moved to the Central Coast. I married a guy from my high school and he lived here and I moved here and I retired from here and started my business. And then, but social justice has been part of my life, my whole life.
Mm.
My mom was super involved in the 60s, and I was right there with her the whole time. And that was, like I was 10 when Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Mm.
So that was in 63. So um, all of my preteens and teenage years was spent doing stuff, making thinking or believing that we were making change and make things happen. And
Right, right alongside your mother, you say, huh?
with my mom, hmm
Yeah.
yep, and in front of the my some of my earliest memories are having dinner with my grandparents every day, watching the 6 o'clock news and hearing my grandfather's commentary on it, which was a lot different than Huntley and Brinkley.
Yeah, I'll bet it
Which,
was.
yeah, and so my teenage years was the Vietnam War and then the whole assault on the Black Panthers and everything. So, um, but yeah, That's my whole life. My
Well,
whole
that's
life.
good. I mean, it should be if you're thinking about the consciousness of our planet and the way that we're pretty much in crisis today, wouldn't you say?
Oh, well, the crisis has been here my whole life. So what the the beauty of this particular crisis is that you see it as a crisis now. I mean, it's like we're sitting here talking about, really, this is not new, but happy that you see. It's like about time.
Right.
But thank you. Thank you. We're not discounting any awareness, awakening, truth finders, or any of that. Just whew,
Yeah.
don't feel quite so alone
Well, and that's a good point. I mean,
or
we are not
spitting in the
alone.
wind. I mean, you know.
Comes right back at you.
So
You, you
now
know, we spoke
spit
we
actually
spoke.
means something.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So I mean, okay,
we
be
talked
serious.
the other day, Odette, about how you marched how it's different you thought today with
Yeah,
the
because
protesters.
because
And you
because you're
explain
you're
that?
listening. You're listening. You guys hear us for real. I mean, I really I never saw this many white people speak up. I mean, they're from their heart even. I mean, like that's real. I mean, there's no it's not I've been hearing things from all ages. Um I have a book group on healing racism, and I hear it. I mean, I hear it in the voices. I feel them. They hear me. They want to hear me. I mean, they want to hear me like that. Mm-mm. No, I did diversity training for the youth authority here. Um, gotta put 15. Um, and the opposition you got from people that you thought were a little bit awake. I mean, like I've never had any acceptance from really on the even hinting about race. Oh, there you go, playing the race card. Why you always gotta go to the race card kind of thing? I mean, like no, no, this is. I haven't heard that statement during all of this at all. Not to me. I mean, I'm sure people are out there saying it, but I haven't heard it, and that's like,
Yeah.
okay, you just
Sounds like you're
hoping,
in
hoping,
a little
hoping.
bit more of an appreciation about all of this,
Oh
taking a different
man,
turn. Now,
yeah, yeah.
I I
It
just
feels
saw
because it feels different. Yeah,
it feels different. That's so
it feels
interesting to
different.
me. I was just behind the curveball for the 60s, and I heard about it, of course, saw it on
Mhm.
TV, but too young to really even notice or understand. But
What was happening?
in my heart, for
Hmm.
years now, I have always understood just how we're needed on this planet. I in particular feel the feminine energy right now is perking up
Mm.
for
Oh
a real
yeah.
unique shift. And just off the cuff, I just saw the other night, I cried through it again. Hidden Figures about the three women back, I think it was in the
Oh
60s,
yeah.
where
Oh, wasn't
they were
that a powerful
mathematicians. Oh,
movie? Oh, that was a
and
beautiful
they
movie.
just fought. They just fought so hard. I mean, not only
Hmm.
being women, but then black women. I mean,
Oh,
it
in
just
the South.
got my
I'm
heart.
like,
Got
in
my
the
heart.
South. I'm like,
Yeah, it's just
that's
crazy.
like, oh my God. Yeah, I am so grateful my grandparents got their kids out of the South. They did not want to raise their family under Jim Crow, and they. So my mom was a baby when our family moved to California during the Great Migration. They were here. They came in the 30s, and
Right.
so I'm
Wow.
first generation Californian, and woo.
Feel
I
feel a bit better.
didn't have
I
that.
bet you do. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
quite a
didn't have
struggle
to.
over
I
there.
did not. I am so grateful, and that's exactly why he 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 uh, he didn't want that, and he had rules,
Yeah,
for us out here,
right.
so that that we wouldn't even come close to any of that. They were no.
Yeah. Did you say recently or in our phone call that you had protested with your mother and now aren't you doing a little bit of difference with another generation in your family?
With my son and my granddaughter.
I think that's
Because
incredible.
that's what I had posted a picture on Facebook of the three of us out at one of the protests in Slow. And that's
Yeah.
what I put. Three generations protesting for a better life for our children. Me and my mom did the same thing over 50 years ago for the same reasons. I said new century, same shit. So,
Yeah.
hopefully
Yeah.
my grandchildren won't have to do this.
Oh,
or her
I hope not.
grandchildren.
I
Yeah, I'm
hope
hoping
not.
her grandchildren won't have to do this. Yeah.
Well, I heard
Whew.
something took a turn that day and you brought people almost actually to their knees. Could you
That
share
was
that
in Paso
story?
Robles. That was in
Okay.
Paso. That was before that one. And so there was a protest all day in town, and then I heard about that property protections people that were supposed to be here, and that it could go south, turn
Yeah.
sideways. And
Yes.
so I said I was going to go, and another friend said no, not by yourself. And so she said, you have to let me go with you. So we went down, and it didn't look like there was much of anything going on because it was kind of getting later. And usually, if something's going to happen, that's when it happens. It's like kind of when the things are at the end.
Mm.
But anyway, so we saw the first people we saw were the property people, and I was like, oh, that don't feel good. So we went over to another street, and then that's where we saw them over on the corner of Pine and 12th Street. So I walked over, and the chief was trying to get them to go home because they had been there like since 10 in the morning, I guess. And so they were ready to go home.
This is the chief
And
of police. Chief of police,
uh-huh,
you mean? Oh,
for
okay.
Paso. And so there was one young black man that was tall and dark, and like buffed. And I'm like, oh God, you know. Him and the chief were talking, and I could hear his voice getting elevated, and I'm looking at
Uh-oh.
all these other cops and then a few of them in riot gear, and I was like, not today, right?
Oh,
So uh and so I worked my way through the crowd so I could touch him, the young man. And so when I did, I got back in back of him, and he was just so tense, and the crowd was really feeding off of him more
oh,
than anything.
I
And I'm
see.
like, okay, and I put my hand on him, and he was so agitated. He turned around and he looked at me and he said, yes, ma'am. And then I went,
Wow.
phew. Yeah.
The mother crone comes through, right? Whew.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And so uh and so he was tall. And so he came down so he could hear me talk, because that's definitely when you want to not raise your voice. You want
Right.
to bring your voice
Right.
down. So then he had he had to bend down to hear me. And I said, listen, I said, you are my concern. You're the reason why I'm here.
Mhm.
And I got a son your age, so you know I know. And he said, yes, ma'am. And I said, so can we just bring it down a notch? you know.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
said,
And how did he
and
respond?
he said, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
so he stood up, and the chief says to me, we just want to. We've been here all day, and it's been really good, no problems. He said,
Mhm.
and my men are ready to go. He said, so what do we need to do to bring this to a close?
Yeah.
And uh, he the it was the young somebody said something about praying in the crowd,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then so the chief said a prayer would be wonderful. Is anybody willing to send up one? And I said, I can do that. He said, you can? I said, sure, I'll do it. And so he
Mm.
said, well, okay. And so I'm holding this guy's hand pretty much, the young man's hand. And I said, you all right with praying? And he said, yeah, you go pray. I said, yeah. He said, okay. And I said, we're gonna take a knee. And he said, yeah, let's take a knee. And somebody in the crowd said, well, are the police gonna take a knee? And the
Right.
chief said, he said, it's voluntarily. I'm not ordering anybody, but I am. And so we all took a knee, and almost every cop did too. Everybody. So, and then I tried to wrap 400 years up into a prayer that ended with love and peace and harmony. And
Oh.
and everybody seemed to hear me, and the tension was like gone. And
Oh.
when we stood up, the chief and the young men embraced, and it was it, and the officers were shaking their hands, and the one in riot gear came and gave me a hug and said thank you. I mean, it was great. It was just what it was. Like I I told somebody I want to be nosy, and, and then it ended up being helpful. So you
Well,
know,
you literally were giving me shivers there when you said that everybody participated in their own way. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's so important
Mm-hmm.
because I think
That
we all want
is,
it.
it was,
We all want this.
yes, yeah. And
We
so
all
then
want it.
we all left, and he walked us to our car and stuff. And I mean, just a great young man.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I didn't want anything to happen to him. I'm like,
No.
oh no, 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 no. So let's
I
see
know.
what. Let me breathe, you know. And the police were cool. I mean, they were so they. I didn't feel that the tension that they can bring sometimes, the agitation that
Right.
that they have. I didn't feel none of that. It
Wow.
was
Wow.
yeah, it was
Quite a moment.
different. That's it. You hear me? I'm trying to tell you. I mean, and I've had the Billy Club and Mace and stuff like that. So this was not the same.
Thank
Okay,
goodness. Thank
this
goodness. No, no, no,
this
no.
this was different. It was
Oh,
so
sounds so
different.
beautiful.
So yeah, yeah.
More of
So
what we need. More of what we need.
yes, yeah.
Take each
I
other's
mean,
hand. Breathe. Breathe.
I may not live to see reparations, but I'm seeing big time change, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine that I interviewed a couple weeks ago that I went to school with told me how a woman, any of you want to visit that particular video, by the way, it's on oneheartinfo.org. And she told a beautiful story as well, being in just Costco, walking around, and this woman just turned to her, a white woman, and said, in her own way, she said, I'm just so sorry. It was like, God,
Oh,
and
oh,
it's these kind, I don't know,
oh
that,
my God. Ooh,
ooh, good juju, good juju.
wow.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I'm paraphrasing, but please
Oh,
go back and listen to my friend
yes.
Gal's story. But it was wonderful because
Oh my God. Oh my God.
you need to be
Yeah.
seen and heard. And I think that's what so many of us just want is to be seen and heard and not
Hmm.
shamed, not shamed for our beliefs
Right,
or opinions.
right,
And that's
right.
so hard. All
Oh,
right,
oh.
girl, now I've got to end this because you have a business, but it is definitely not a restaurant. And I want to make that clear.
No,
I want to
no,
make that
no.
clear. But you've been quite busy lately. Can you
Oh,
share about
goodness
this
gracious.
Father's
Yes.
Day, 4th of July? Go
Oh,
ahead. Go ahead.
oh
What's going on?
man. I mean, like, they shut down everything just before ZenFest, which is normally my biggest earning weekend out of the
Ooh.
year.
Oh
And
my.
I had spent money and everything. And so I was like, no, 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 no,
Exactly.
no.
Ah.
Because, I've been in business 17 years, and 10 years ago, I had a transplant and a divorce all in the same year. So it basically was starting my life over and with better health. And so, um, and I kept my business. So I've been really like feeling like I'm finally getting somewhere. And then that happened. And I was like, okay, luckily, because of my spiritual training and practices, I'm good with not knowing. But what I do know is things always work out.
Yeah.
And so that's where I went and I lived in that spot. It's going to work out. I don't know the details, but it always works out.
It
And
does.
then things started happening. And I called George Floyd my saint because
Mm.
then people, white people started wanting to support black businesses, and they put a list out. And
Oh,
there's one business that pretty much kind of adopted me in South County where I haven't done much business over the 17 years. And
wow.
it's like they discovered Miss Odette. Oh my God.
Well, what is it
the
that
orders,
what is it that you
the
make
orders.
or provide? Because
Well,
you went off
well,
the charts
okay.
with
So
it.
I started out with smoking the meats, and the barbecue sauce, then developed a life of its own, and then that's how everybody got to know me, because then I was even at Costco when it opened up for a few years. And then um and I used to have a food truck even, but then when I had to do the reinvention of me, um I let the food truck go because it was just me. So um, I cater now. I do catering and pop ups. So the wineries are my number one customers,
Ah, good for you.
and so I was at when we shut down, when everything got shut down. I was at Diambino's tasting room every
Hmm.
Thursday night for their blues jam,
Oh.
and so they're not opening back up again. But so now I'm um, Ian McPhee's his. Oh my God, he's another angel. I mean, he
Mm.
literally has wings, and I've been using his kitchen because he's not gonna open up for a little while, and
Hmm.
he saw what was going on in my need, and that it was growing.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
he reached out, and I mean, like, I snatched onto his hand for life. Oh my God. And so he's been amazing.
Wow.
So I've been able to use his kitchen. And so when I did the pulled pork special, and um uh the rib special, and now I'm gonna do a mac and cheese special.
Ooh.
And people order
Ooh.
and then come pick it up.
I
And
heard
it's
it.
like,
Yeah.
wow,
I couldn't get an
yeah.
interview of Father's Day and I couldn't get I had to wait after 4th of July. You've been a little busy.
And so now, and so after we finished the 4th of July special, we put out uh mac and cheese day before yesterday, and I probably already have 50 orders.
Oh, oh my goodness.
And it's not till next week. And so and
Oh,
that's the one that blows my mind. Oh my God, people love macaroni and cheese.
ah. I
I'm
think is that
I'm like,
comfort? Is that comfort food? Is that why? Is that comfort food?
I'm learning this. I have learned something. I learned my barbecue sauce has taught me so much about barbecue sauce that I was never aware of.
Yeah.
But mac and cheese, I'm like, I
Okay.
didn't grow up eating mac and cheese like this. So,
Okay.
it's a side dish that's kind of
Taking
not
its
that you
own.
don't eat that every day. It's more special kind of, Sunday thing.
Right.
It's with something. It's a side dish. So, uh I'm finding out that that's not how everybody views macaroni and cheese.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
a main dish for a lot of people. It's like you don't even have to provide appetizers or a dessert for some people when it comes to macaroni and cheese. I'm
Mm.
like blown away.
I'm gonna have to try it for sure, for
I mean,
sure.
but no, I mean that's their attitude to macaroni and cheese in general, and then they have mine,
Yeah.
and it's over.
There you go.
It's
Well,
over
tell
then.
me about
But
your
so yeah,
let me tell me
that's
about
it.
your three lovely spices that you used. The first one was it was a cute story in your video on Facebook. It's pretty
Oh no,
very spicy.
that was a description of my barbecue sauce that
Right.
starts out sweet and flavorful. Then it goes to a twang and it ends with a little bite. That's the one that's
Ah,
medium on the
ah,
heat.
okay, okay,
And the
okay.
one that's hot, that bite comes in and it blossoms in your mouth. It spreads out all over.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And then you're trying something new. Can you share about that? The third one? A little.
The third barbecue sauce that
Hmm.
has 200 milligrams of Girl Scout cookie in it. That one?
Well, I can only imagine what that must do for people. Just
Yeah,
soothe their soul.
it's the medicinal one, but I'm gonna have to water it down because that's I hear it's too strong or something.
Okay.
We'll
A
see.
little mac and
Yeah.
cheese, and that might cover it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, oh my God.
That'll bring it down.
I have a comment here on Facebook when you were telling your story. I just want to at least let you know Don Gearbrock, a friend of ours, I think, crone mother love heart is the answer, he says. I think that's so
Yes,
true. Thank
that
you, Don,
is
for
true.
that.
Yes.
This has been a lovely conversation. I hope to bring all my interviewees back on at some point, see where you all are, because COVID has really detoured us, and you have scooted your way around with some blessings in your own community.
Yes.
I
Yes.
that's
Absolutely.
that's a one heart love, man. That's
Yes.
a one heart love.
Oh,
Well,
yep.
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story and taking hold of that young man's hand and bringing people together. It's so easy to get caught in those lower energy vibrations, which is the anger
Oh,
and the
Lord, isn't it? Yes,
shaming
yes.
people. And when we turn it around and take a breath and turn it around,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a song called Just Breathe. And if you just
Yes. Okay.
if we just take a breath,
Oh,
maybe those tendencies to go that way can go into the higher vibrations, right?
yes,
Love
absolutely.
and sharing and
Absolutely.
community.
Mhm.
And it sounds like your
Mhm.
food is bringing community. I'm, I'm gonna I ought to be laughing all day with this mac and cheese story. I swear I could
Oh
just
my
see people.
God. I just keep even my mom, my family marvels. Like, just mac and cheese. I'm like, yeah, just mac and cheese. Okay. Like sometimes I
Okay.
think they don't believe me.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, thank
Yeah.
you again, Odette, and I'm gonna put her information in the comment section below when I repost this. So stay tuned. There's more guests. I have Mandy Davis coming Saturday at 10 o'clock. I
Oh,
think you know Mandy. We are
yeah.
we're going to talk about the environment and how important it is. So, One Heart is about start a change reaction. What does that mean? How can you get
Oh,
involved? Odette, thank you
yes,
for getting involved
yes,
and
yes, yes.
continue being the crone and sharing with your grandbabies and
Yes,
well,
yes,
well maybe just one.
absolutely.
We don't want to rush it. and uh and
Oh
uh
no, I have three.
Okay, you have three. Well, there you go. We got to
Yeah,
protect them. They're gonna own
yes,
and
yes.
have this
And
planet off.
one is a boy, is a grandson. So that's like,
I think there's a little
oh
more work there.
Lord, yeah, lots of protection around him.
Oh, well, thank you all for joining us. We're gonna have a replay on this, and Odette, thank you again
Okay,
so much. You all have a nice day. Peace, love to you all. This is Jolynn. Until next time. Bye bye.
namaste.